The greatest temptation is trying to control something we do not fully understand. But what do we do when faced with truly inexplicable? Some tear it up to make souvenirs. Others keep it chained up inside a perimeter cage. Perhaps all the zone really needs is our compassion.
Yevhen Martinenko, 25 years old. Born in a small town, loved a good book, but preferred a good fight.
They took something precious from you.
Yes.
In your search for the truth, you had the courage to enter this zone.
And then? What happened?
A tragedy most horrible? Or a joy most profound?
What if the scanner gets damaged in the fighting? These are not stalkers, but former monolithians.
Some come to the zone to make money. Others come looking for a miracle. Many just want to find happiness. A way to feel real and alive again.
I'm sure you can handle it. One way or another.
There is nothing you can keep a secret. It's just a matter of time.
Nay, I'm not looking to make friends. Skiff.
And if we do nothing, houses on the mainland will continue to burn and collapse. If you fight a soldier, you're only fighting yourself.
I was attacked while on a job. I got hit in the head, and when I woke up, I was in almost...
The Stalker series is back after 15 years to bring you one of the most different games of the year. Stay tuned for our review of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chornobyl. It's been 15 years since we last played the Stalker series in Call of Pripyat, a series that is considered one of the most special and truly different works in the world of video games, and I've been waiting for the arrival of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chornobyl for a few years now, to once again experience that pure feeling of immersion in its strange and somewhat depressing atmosphere. Unfortunately, Stalker has been delayed repeatedly during this time, and the involvement of its Ukrainian development team at GSC Game World with various problems, the Russian invasion of this country being just one of them, has prolonged the game's development process. But finally, in a few hours, gamers will receive official permission to enter the world of Stalker 2, and this wait will end. The story of Stalker 2 is related to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explosion, but with a slightly different definition than the real version. In the Stalker world, after the power plant explosion in 1986, a second explosion occurs in 2006, and as a result, a forbidden zone called the Zone is formed, which is a very dangerous world with mutant creatures, deadly levels of radioactive materials, and strange anomalies. But this forbidden zone is not completely deserted, and apart from the presence of people who are each pursuing their own desires, a group of people also go to the zone under the name of Stalker. Each of these people has their own reason for doing so, from finding its mysteries to escaping their dark past. In Stalker 2, the gamer plays the role of one of these people, named Skiff, and he also enters the Chernobyl Forbidden Zone with specific goals.
The zone, in our image, after our likeness.
In the general definition of video game style, Stalker 2 falls into the category of first-person shooters, which I will explain more about from a gameplay perspective. But usually not always games in this genre have a relatively straightforward story, and especially if you have no prior knowledge of Stalker, it is likely that you will start Stalker 2 with this mindset. But Stalker 2 is not at all a straightforward experience in terms of story that simply describes the narrative of reaching a specific story from the starting point to the destination and fills it with the killing common to first-person shooters. On the contrary, the game's storytelling is very branched, and a large part of its narrative is on the shoulders of the audience and the decisions they make in the face of various events.
I am blind, but it is you who cannot see.
These decisions themselves are implemented in the game in various ways. On the one hand, the main storyline constantly puts the audience at a crossroads, and even complex crossroads. And what decision you make in these situations has an often unexpected impact on the character of Skiff himself, the characters involved in the story, and the overall events of the game. In addition to these cases, in general, while experiencing Stalker 2, we are constantly making decisions. For example, you may witness a conflict between a group of soldiers on the way to a mission, and your reaction to it, whether you intervene or not, can lead to the formation of an interesting subplot that has specific rewards or consequences for Skiff. Depending on the audience's approach, the game story ultimately leads to one of the 4 endings of Stalker 2, which in itself is a good motivation to experience the creation of GSC Game World Studio many times. Of course, the overall story of the game, despite all these complexities, has a problem that you should keep in mind. The problem here is that the narrative of Stalker 2 takes a little longer than usual to get going. So much so that the first 5 to 6 hours of the game, in its approximately 35-hour experience, serve as an introduction, and everything is a little vague. Only after reaching a certain point, which I will not go into detail to avoid spoilers, will you gradually understand the mysterious world of the game better, and from here on, the necessary tension is created in the audience to want to follow the events until the end of the story.
Listen. The zone has remained stable for years. Besides, we didn't establish the most advanced institution in human history without first guaranteeing its safety.
It's impossible to talk about the story of Stalker 2 without mentioning its amazing characterization. The creators of this work are not at all looking to make a hero out of a specific character, not even Skiff, and instead, they have tried to portray the complexities of humanity, especially in a cruel world like the world of Stalker 2. For this reason, there is no mention of the usual boundaries of good and evil or black and white in this game, and this makes it very difficult to trust the numerous characters in the game and make decisions based on this trust. This feature creates completely unpredictable scenarios in Stalker 2 and constantly reminds the audience that in this world, every decision has consequences, and even if the decision you made seems wrong by your own logic, the result will be brutally revealed.
Recently, ruining homes and livelihoods. However,
all of this ultimately leads to a deep, complex, mysterious, and even slightly philosophical story in Stalker 2, which, like classic examples of Russian literary novels, requires a little patience to enjoy as the game patiently lays out its desired groundwork and, from one point to the next, traps the audience in the heart of its events and keeps them captive until the end. But this complexity is not unique to the narrative of Stalker 2, but also applies to its overall process. Although 15 years have passed since the previous version of the series, and many may want to compare it to series such as Fallout or even Metro after seeing the game's demos, Stalker 2 is like nothing else but Stalker, and at least in my opinion, this is a very positive feature for it.
Ну, чё там?
Готово.
Although Stalker 2 is generally a first-person shooter, as I mentioned, it also includes elements of survival and fear with tangible realism. For this reason, in this game, for example, you are not supposed to pick up a weapon and easily kill enemies or supernatural creatures. Firstly, you have limited ammunition, and on the other hand, the game is designed to be a highly difficult task, and mindlessly hitting the enemy will only result in failure. Some realistic components of the game are also effective here, and for example, weapons or equipment will deteriorate due to long-term use, and if you do not repair them in time, your weapon may get stuck in the middle of the battle, and this interruption will cost you your life.
Ну, не знаю. Между аномалией и маслиной я уж лучше пулю выберу.
On the other hand, Stalker 2 takes place in an incredibly brutal world. Your threats in this world are not only other humans or mutants, and the game world itself, with its various anomalies, can be a real disaster. This world is, of course, a paradox of beauty and destruction. On the one hand, its nature has grown strangely, especially under the influence of explosions, which gives the game world a special beauty, and on the other hand, you can see abandoned buildings or destroyed and abandoned cars throughout the game world. The constant changes and developments of the game world, and especially the phenomena known as emission, when they occur and you must definitely go to the shelter, have somehow given this world its own unique identity and created one of the most different and captivating atmospheres we have had in video games in the last few years.
Узнаешь мотив?
But before you experience Stalker 2, you should pay attention to another issue. The game world and its atmosphere are one of the important positive features of Stalker 2, and a large part of your experience will be spent exploring it. However, if you are one of those gamers who, for example, had problems with long horse rides between stages in Red Dead Redemption 2, you will probably feel this problem in a more tangible form in Stalker 2. Especially since GSC Game World, unlike a work like Red Dead 2, cannot always fill these long walks to reach the mission location with unpredictable events or use it as a storytelling mechanic in some way. Of course, this also depends a lot on the audience's taste, and for me, for example, simply engaging with the environmental anomalies, enjoying its beauty, and at the same time immersing myself in the depressing and strange atmosphere of the environments, as well as interacting with the events that occurred along the way, provided enough pleasure to complete these long journeys.
Он мучился?
Нет.
Это хорошо. Он этого не заслужил.
А пулю заслужил. Жаль, что ты так с ним поступил.
Мне тоже. Считаешь, я не думал, как обойтись без...
The only thing that bothered me a little in this regard is the excessive realism in some elements. For example, although I always carried a maximum of main weapons, the weight of the equipment was almost always higher than the allowed limit, and I always felt sorry for running around comfortably. Of course, other survival-oriented elements, such as the need to use food to satisfy hunger, give more depth to the gameplay. I should also mention that Stalker 2 is not a role-playing experience at all, but it has mechanics such as upgrading weapons and equipment that you can do in bases, and they have a significant impact on making the skiff stronger or more durable, and they are also well detailed.
Похоже, пора.
И куда ты теперь?
В Припять. Нужно с ним поговорить.
Удачной охоты, сталкер.
With that in mind, overall, Stalker 2 has engaging gameplay. The battles are quite exciting, even with the weapons being a bit clunky. The main and side missions won't disappoint, especially with their story dimension or interactions with complex characters. The game's equipment upgrade system is well detailed, and the incredibly impressive atmosphere of the game world makes all of this a pleasure to play. Stalker 2 is built with the Unreal Engine 5 and has good graphic details, especially in the environmental design. The design of the plant textures of the environments, the lighting and environmental shading, and the effects such as the reflection of light from the water surface in rainy conditions are of good quality, and on the other hand, the design of the characters' faces is at a lower level with a small distance. In the almost 1 week experience I had with Stalker 2, several updates were released for the game, and based on the latest version, I can be relatively satisfied with the technical performance of the game. The frame drop is still noticeable, especially in crowded environments, and the game also struggles with some bugs and problems such as crashing on the PC version. It is expected that these problems will be resolved or minimized with subsequent updates or the update on the day of the game's release. Problems like this have always existed in the Stalker series and are considered a signature of this series in a way. Stalker 2 also has acceptable sound quality, and the sounds of weapons in particular are designed with precision.
That was our way to celebrate 25 years of making games here at GC Game World. This year, we have an anniversary gift for our fans as well. It's an update on Stalker 2. It's not as big as a new trailer just yet, but we hope you will enjoy it. Let's start with something familiar.
Overall, Stalker 2, although it has some problems that we mentioned in the review, is one of those games that has a special identity, and this special identity, like a trap, creates a strange attraction for the audience to experience the game personally when I was not playing. I had a special thirst to return and immerse myself in the mysterious world of Stalker, and I don't remember the last time I felt this way about a video game. The detailed story that is directly influenced by the gamer's behavior, the engaging gameplay, and the unique atmosphere are positive features that make Stalker 2 one of the works worthy of respect this year, and especially considering the availability of the game on Game Pass, I suggest that you don't deprive yourself of experiencing this game.
Work in progress. The time has passed and the new forces emerged in the zone. You can expect to see more factions in Stalker 2. Let's move on. The reception of Stalker 2 has been extremely positive so far, and we are truly grateful for that. Thank you for your passion and your interest. Stalker 2 is a shooter game.
Overall, Stalker 2, although it has some problems that we mentioned in the review, is one of those games that has a special identity, and this special identity, like a trap, creates a strange attraction for the audience to experience the game personally when I was not playing. I had a special thirst to return and immerse myself in the mysterious world of Stalker, and I don't remember the last time I felt this way about a video game. The detailed story that is directly influenced by the gamer's behavior, the engaging gameplay, and the unique atmosphere are positive features that make Stalker 2 one of the works worthy of respect this year, and especially considering the availability of the game on Game Pass, I suggest that you don't deprive yourself of experiencing this game.
Finally, let's finish with something completely unexpected. We work a lot to fill the world with a decent amount of memorable details, and sometimes it takes us to completely unexpected grounds. Can you see this guy? Quite a charmer, if you ask me. But let's take a closer look at his teeth. And the tooth is gone, or changed, or replaced with a dental crown. All made with our custom teeth tool, one of the many plugins we use in the development process for specific changes like that. These tiny accents ensure each character looks completely unique. Literally every human in Stalker 2 has one-of-a-kind smile. Or grin, I suppose. And that covers up our news for today. Please subscribe to our official social channels to receive up-to-date info about the game or ask any questions. We would be pleased to share more about Stalker 2, including gameplay demonstration, later this year.
If you like this video, like it now, and become a member of our family by pressing the subscribe button. Activate the bell so you never miss our interesting videos.